Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday, so please make sure to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We've got some interesting things to discuss today. First of all, happy 1st of February. I hope we all had a successful January and we are all in nice profit so far. Bitcoin has been making some pretty interesting moves to start off 2024, and I want to be discussing what could come next for Bitcoin. Is it up? Is it down? What is happening right now and what we should expect for February? We will take a look at how Bitcoin has performed in previous years for February and what we could look at this month. We're also going to take a look at those spot Bitcoin ETFs. Once again, we're going to take a look at the impact they are having on the cryptocurrency market, and we'll take a look at Ripple being hacked of over $1 million. So lots to discuss today. Before we continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Let's see what's going on with the price of Bitcoin. So here we've got Bitcoin sat at $42,100, down slightly 1.3% within the last 24 hours. For Ethereum, we're down by almost 2% to $2,265 there. But overall, in the last week, they are both in a nice profit there, with Bitcoin up 5% and Ethereum up almost 2%. Let's take a look at the chart for Bitcoin here. Now, we're keeping all the lines on that we've been discussing in the last couple of streams. I think we still have to note that this is a super strong level of support, or zone of support, we should say. This is between the $42,000 level and the $40,800 level. Now, this has been used as a support numerous times within the last month or so, and it is considerably strong. So I'm looking at this as a point at which we could see a nice bounce for Bitcoin, or it could help us stay within a particular range. Now, in terms of level of resistance, I'm looking at around $44,250. So we've got quite a small range there, but if you take a look at when we were previously in this range, we were held within this range from the 4th of December until about the 8th of January. So there was a month period there where this range was actually big enough for Bitcoin to just bounce around in, and it was fine to do that. And I think there is potential that we could see that kind of price action over the next couple of weeks. So let's zoom out slightly and take a look at why I'm expecting some sideways action here. Now, if we go out all the way to the daily chart, you can see we are expecting that Bitcoin ETF at that Bitcoin halving April 2024. Let's take a look at the date of that. Let's pull this out. So Bitcoin halving 2024 countdown. Let's do that. I don't think I needed to put 2024 in there. Here we go. We've got one here. So Bitcoin halving is in an estimated, not 0000. Oh, it's taking, here we go. 76 days, 22 hours, 56 minutes and 36 seconds. So this is when the block reward for Bitcoin is halved and Bitcoin miners will no longer receive 6.25 Bitcoin per block. They will instead receive 3.125 Bitcoin. So the inflation rate for Bitcoin is halved, which drastically reduces the amount of inflation on the asset. Now, if we take a look here, we've got about 76 days to go. We're expecting the Bitcoin halving to be on the 18th of April. If you go on different websites, they differ slightly, but I mean, we're looking at between the 16th and the 20th of April at this point in time. There's not much room for kind of change now that we've got closer to that date. So on that date, the inflation rate for Bitcoin will halve. And with that, we typically do see a nice bull market. But until then, I believe there is some sort of cap on the price of Bitcoin. If we take a look at what's happened in previous cycles, you will see we do not create a new all-time high prior to that halving. So we do, if cycles repeat and we see the same patterns as we've seen before, we do expect to not see $70,000 until after that halving. Now, since Bitcoin was down at around $20,000, I've been saying $50,000 is a brilliant price target to have for the Bitcoin halving, or prior to the Bitcoin halving. We've hit $49,000. So I think that is my target reached. I don't expect to see us go much higher than that prior to this Bitcoin halving in April. So with that in mind, I'm looking at the current price for Bitcoin and saying, look, we could be in for a little bit of downwards momentum, or maybe some sideways momentum until April 2024. Now, for those that have joined CSE Plus and are in the CSE Plus Discord channel, you joined the AMA yesterday, you would have heard my thoughts on this. Before we get back onto this, if you are a member of CSE Plus or you want to be part of the CSE Plus Discord, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com and sign up to CSE Plus. Be part of that community there. We talk about everything that's going on in the markets. Every single week we have like a video call with the community where you get to ask your questions to the team at Crypto Saving Expert, to myself, to that martini guy, and you get to ask any questions about the markets once a week and get our thoughts on what's happening. And then every month we have a full deep dive with that martini guy. So make sure to join in the community Discord if you haven't already. But we did have an AMA yesterday where I discussed my thoughts on the markets and what I think is going to happen for Bitcoin prior and post Bitcoin halving. Now, as I've said, $50,000 to me has always been my price target for pre-halving, and that's not going to change for me, and obviously, unless we break above it. I think that is a pretty a limit that I would expect to hold at this point until April 22nd, April 17th, whatever the date was there, until that Bitcoin halving arrives. Now, in the run up to a Bitcoin halving, typically it's not the most bullish time. Now, a Bitcoin halving is seen to be a really bullish event because historically it has triggered a bull market. The inflation rate for Bitcoin is halving, and nobody likes inflation at the end of the day. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a really bullish event for Bitcoin. We all know that. And we all know that historically it's triggered a massive bull market. So why is it bearish? Well, I believe just because it's such a bullish event, it's like, we can't all just go, yep, it's going to go up and the price goes up. Bitcoin takes the path of most pain. We have this really bullish event that everyone's excited about, and Bitcoin likes to drop on those kind of scenarios. So that's exactly what it has done in previous cycles. We also have the kind of FUD that spreads around in the media every single 4-year cycle that says, look, these mining companies might not be able to sustain their operations if we do see when we do see the halving, because the amount they pay for their hardware, for the electricity, for the fans, for the rent, doesn't get covered by Bitcoin if they are receiving half the income, essentially. So there are those concerns there. As I said in yesterday's stream and in yesterday's AMA, this is not a concern for me. If some of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the world turn off their machines and say we can't afford to do this anymore, what will happen is we will see more decentralization for Bitcoin in the long term. Because if those big people with those huge machines turn off their machines, it means that the difficulty to mine Bitcoin would reduce, and those with weaker hardware would be able to step up and mine Bitcoin profitably. So it would just create make Bitcoin more decentralized in a sense. However, I don't even think that's going to happen. I don't even think this is too much to worry about. I think we see this every single cycle. Every single cycle we see it trigger a bull market, and Bitcoin's price increasing means that the 3.125 Bitcoin now covers the cost that the 6.25 Bitcoin used to cover. So I don't think this is too much of a concern. We see these concerns every 4 years. Yes, there may be some mining companies that can't continue to operate, but this is part of the process of Bitcoin. We've all known that this is going to be happening every 4 years, every 210,000 blocks. Let's take a look at what's going on in the chat here. Good morning, Monkey Nuts. Good morning, PG. Good morning, Jason from Australia. Mission Possible says, yes, perfect info. My thoughts also. Rock on crypto expertise. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button if you have just tuned in. We are doing these live streams every single weekday, and we need your help to grow the channel as big as possible in 2024. Let's see what's going on here though. So as I've been saying there, I'm really pushing here. I do expect that 50,000 could be a limit for Bitcoin pre-halving. It may not be. I'm just looking at probability, looking at the previous 4-year cycles. We typically don't see another, we haven't in history seen another all-time high prior to the Bitcoin halving. Obviously, this time it could be different, who knows, but I like to stay in tune with the trends. So what we have here is a $50,000 level of a $49,000 level of resistance, I should say, and we have some key levels of support here. As I've said, we're looking at that $42,000 to $40,800 level, and we've got some other levels of support below this. Now, this period prior to a Bitcoin halving historically isn't the most bullish time. If we take a look at the previous halving, it is kind of skewed a little bit because we had the Black Swan event of 2020. So if we take a look at the halvings before that, you can see that the run up to the halving, those couple of months, aren't always the most bullish. So I'm trying to take advantage of any dips that we do get, seeing them as opportunities. Nobody knows how much of a dip we could see here. We obviously have the impact of these ETFs now being live with those issuers accumulating Bitcoin. So what we could see here is some potential downwards action within the next 3 months or so. However, I think what Bitcoin could do is give us some sideways action, and that really is the killer. Everyone thinks downwards action is painful. Sideways action is worse. It's always a killer because there's nothing to trade when Bitcoin's not breaking out, not moving. It's a horrible period of time, but I think that is a possibility here. I think this was a really nice price to reach prior to the halving, and I think that could be it for the first quarter of this year. I think maybe some downwards action within these levels of support and resistance. Obviously, we will update as time goes on. If supports are broken, then we'll adjust our ranges here. But I'm expecting this level of support to be strong, potentially come down to here. If we take a look at what it's looking like on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map on the 6-month chart, you can see we have a huge zone of a huge price point here of $34,000, and this means that if Bitcoin goes down to that price point, a huge amount of traders will be liquidated. Now, we all know Bitcoin likes to take the path of most pain, so I think that $34,000 level is a reasonable level for pre-halving. I don't think it's certain. I think we do have a lot of people accumulating right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if we now hit $34,000 after looking at the market and looking at previous halvings. $34,000 would mean that we have a pre-halving pullback of around 30%, perfectly normal within a bull market, would be in line with the historic price action. So I wouldn't be shocked if we did go that low. I would be shocked if we started to go considerably lower than that. Below that, we kind of shot up last time, so didn't create too many levels of support and resistance. We do have some from back earlier in last year, some down at $32,000, etc. I don't think that's too much of a concern. If we did come down here with all of those people that could get liquidated, we probably would see a really sharp move to the downside. Hopefully that would be bought up and we'd see a nice big wick there, and then we could start to look at higher prices. But I think pre-halving, yeah, we may see some downwards momentum or sideways action. I think there is really a limit on how high we can get up here. There is potential we retest that $49,000 level again, but I think I'm being more cautious at this point in time. I'm not expecting massive bull market gains until kind of after May time 2024. That's when I'm really looking again. We have had a nice run up to start the year though, and we have had a brilliant 2023, so we can't really complain right now. But let's take a look at what goes on historically on the monthly returns for Bitcoin. So if we look at the data, Bitcoin usually has a bullish month in February, and if we take a look at Ethereum, it's looking pretty similar. Now, before we move on and start to look at some news for the day, I want to take a look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart as well, because this is pretty interesting right now, and this is something I've been keeping a close eye on. So a lot of you know that I was accumulating Bitcoin during this period of time, during this bear market, not really investing in anything else, with the kind of plan that when we hit 2024, in Q1 of 2024, in January, February, March, April, I want to start diversifying and accumulating a little bit more of some altcoins. So selling some Bitcoin into altcoins to hopefully make my Bitcoin position bigger by this time next year. So what we can see here is obviously Ethereum had a huge move to the upside on this chart, massively outperforming Bitcoin following those spot Bitcoin ETFs going live. This has now seen a huge retracement, and we've come back down to reasonable levels. So this for me is looking like a really nice opportunity here to I think potentially what we could be seeing in the next couple of months is this chart starting to bottom off, if it hasn't already bottomed off, and start to see Ethereum start to outperform Bitcoin, especially following kind of April, May. And that is when I want to be already diversified. So that's what I'm looking at here. Now, if we take a look at the Bitcoin halving events on here, you can see that, let's pull this out to the weekly chart. You can see that on Bitcoin halving events, typically, if we take a look at the previous cycle here, so on this one, you can see Ethereum was being outperformed by Bitcoin until September 19, and then we had a couple of bounces here. So I think we could be around here right now where we have seen a bounce, but we've come back down and we are starting to form a double bottom here. So we had a double bottom there, and then about 4 months prior to the Bitcoin halving, Ethereum started to outperform Bitcoin, and that's when the high cap coins start to really perform well. Now, if we put the Bitcoin halving event onto this chart, so we're looking at April 2024, and we take a look at what's happening here, maybe we are coming down, creating a double bottom, and then 3 months before the Bitcoin halving, which is anytime now, we start to see Ethereum start to outperform Bitcoin again and start to see these high cap coins performing well. I wouldn't be shocked if that is the kind of what plays out here, and that is why I'm really starting to try and diversify my portfolio a little bit more, being pretty cautious, because as I've just said, I am cautious on the price of Bitcoin right now. I think we do have some kind of close upper limits for Bitcoin, so diversifying into altcoins isn't something I feel hugely comfortable about. When Bitcoin's going down and I'm fully into Bitcoin, I could not care less. Honestly, as long as my Bitcoin holding, like, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin at the end of the day. If Bitcoin's going down and I'm fully in Bitcoin, I do not get emotional about it at all. However, if the markets are going down and I'm holding 50 different altcoins, I am stressing out. So I always try and remove the emotion when it comes to trading and investing, because that's how you are going to be the most profitable. So I personally position myself in a way that I know I won't get emotional. And for me, that means holding Bitcoin, not other altcoins. So I'm really stuck between a rock and a hard place here, where I really want to diversify. I really want to be getting exposure to altcoins within the next couple of months, but I'm not certain on Bitcoin, and if it goes lower, I want to be holding Bitcoin, not the rest of it. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword here, trying to get it right, trying to kind of do a little bit of both, not go too diversified too quickly, and just try and keep something on the sidelines in case we do see those moves to the downside. But it's pretty difficult to get this right at this point in time. This is where things start to heat up. As I've said, I've held on to Bitcoin throughout this bear market and accumulated Bitcoin throughout this bear market, because it's been clear to me that Bitcoin typically outperforms Ethereum for the first part of a cycle. But now it feels like this is the time period that I plan to start diversifying. So this is where I promised myself I'd take on a little bit more risk. But we all know here that I don't really take on that much risk. Bitcoin is the thing I like to hold. I'm not going out and buying super low cap coins all the time. 2024 is the year I'd be a little bit more of a degen in the crypto space. That was my New Year's resolution. But let's take a look now at what's going on in the cryptocurrency news today. Let's take a look first of all at what's going on with the altcoins here. So ApeCoin is up almost 7% within the last 24 hours. Monero up nicely as well, 4.5%. Chiliz is up 3.6%. And in terms of biggest losers, we're looking at FTX's token down 23% within 24 hours. They have said within the last 24 hours that they are going to refund all of their users in 2024, I believe. Let me check that fact, because I want to make sure that I've got that right. FTX opts to repay customers in full as it abandons restart plans. So that is why the token is not performing so well. I don't think they've said by end of 2024, but they have said they will not be relaunching the FTX exchange. Instead, they will be repaying their customers. So the Bank Crypto Exchange will focus on selling its assets to repay its customers who had their crypto locked when it filed for bankruptcy in November 2022. So obviously with that news coming out and being told, look, there's not going to be an FTX exchange anymore, a lot of people were buying FTX on the hopes that it would relaunch and FTX's token FTT would pick up again. But now that news has come out, that is no longer the case. So you can see why it's dropped 23%. Let's take a look what else is here. And two other exchange tokens are in here as well. So OKX's OKB is down 7% and Huobi's HT is down 6.8% there as well. So pretty drastic moves to the downside for a lot of the centralized exchanges there. But anyway, let's move on here. Let me have a drink of my water. And let's see what's going on in the cryptocurrency news today. First off, of course, we are talking about Tether here, because they have made $6.2 billion in profit last year. And we all know what Tether like to do with their profits. They like to buy Bitcoin. So let's take a look at what's going on in this article. They've made $6.2 billion. That is absolutely insane. So on Wednesday, they released its financial quarters for the last quarter of 2023. The last quarter, they recorded a net profit of $2.85 billion. Roughly $1 billion of that came from net operational profit, which Arduino stated mostly came from US Treasury bills interest. A further $1.85 billion was generated via the company's gold and Bitcoin holdings increasing in value. So we all know that they like to invest their profits into Bitcoin and other assets. So this is really bullish to see. And it's nice to see that USDT is making such significant profits, because every single cycle there is bearish news about Tether and its ability to hold its peg and its reserves, but they are making tons of profit in the markets right now and trying to increase their transparency when it comes to their reserves, like they have been doing for the last couple of years, and really building confidence with people in the cryptocurrency space. And I think that is important. Now, when it comes to stable coins, a lot of people ask me in the chat what stable coins I like to hold. I personally prefer to hold none. I mean, if I'm putting money in cryptocurrency, what's the point of holding it in Tether? If for example, I want to sell some Bitcoin off because I think Bitcoin is going to go down slightly, I may hold it for a short period of time, but that's not really how I trade and how I invest. I like to invest for the long term. I like to take a small percentage of my funds to trade with. That percentage may be holding Tether in between trades, but really, I like to just hold Bitcoin in between trades. Let's take a look at what's going on in the chat here, because we've got quite a few questions here in the chat. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Good morning, Bruce. Good morning, Monkey Nuts. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's see. Jason Smith says, I too plotted it down to 35k-ish range over the next 2 months pre-halving. I think that it's sensible to be aware that that is a real possibility, $34,000. I'm not counting on it. I think it's a lot easier to be comfortable in the markets when you've been investing during the bear market, because I went basically all in a very long time ago for Bitcoin and it's paid off nicely. And now I'm not too concerned about how low the price of Bitcoin will go, because I don't have too much kind of instables on the sidelines waiting to go in. I'm just investing whenever I can, whenever money comes my way. But in terms of kind of, for those that aren't fully in, it makes it so much harder and so much more emotional. I'm not saying go full in. That's not what I intended to mean that at all. But for myself, seeing $34,000 as an option, don't malign that it's actually going to come. Don't say, when it gets to $34,000, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It's not a definite. I always prefer to dollar cost average in and dollar cost average out and take advantage of all the opportunities and try and make myself as emotionless in my trading as possible. Let's see what's going on here. PG says, so sensible advice, best to be stress-free rather than worrying about potential alt losses all the time. Yeah, definitely. And I think holding Bitcoin is just such a less stressful experience, but also altcoins are there to make huge gains and have those exciting pumps in the markets. And at the start of a cycle, we can take on less risk, because typically in a bull market, what we see is Bitcoin perform well, then high cap perform well, then mid caps, and then low caps. We all know those low cap coins have the highest risk, and it kind of goes on the spectrum like that. So in the start of a bull market, I've been holding Bitcoin for that period of time. It's been outperforming Ethereum, been really nice choice. And now we can diversify into those high cap coins. Out of all the altcoins, obviously, these are going to be the least risky ones to invest into, in my opinion. So we're taking on a little bit of risk by moving into those high cap coins, but I hope it pays off. Let's take Mission Possible says, wise you are, good plan. Thank you very much. You said, do you know what coin could give Bitcoin a run for its money? Casper, Chainlink, thoughts? Thanks for your answer either way. A T for you, good job on channel. Thank you very much. So what altcoins do I think will outperform Bitcoin within the next couple of months? Interesting questions here. What I'd like to do, I would rather not just list off an reel of tokens that I'm interested in right now. I want to kind of show you my thought process on this. So as I've just said, I am hugely into Bitcoin. A large percentage of my portfolio is in Bitcoin, not in kind of altcoins. I am playing it a little bit safe this market, because this bull market, because last bull market I was over leveraged, basically just destroyed my portfolio, learned from those mistakes and want to be a better trader this time. My portfolio is not the size of other people that do these live streams every day. So I'm trying to keep mine as strong as possible this time around and play it differently. So I've been accumulating Bitcoin throughout the bear market. I'm looking at this chart, and Ethereum has historically bottomed out around this point in time for this and started to outperform Bitcoin. So I'm looking at those high cap coins there. I'm looking at Ethereum. I'm looking at competitors for Ethereum. Solana is a token that It performed really well last bull market because it was kind of the new gem in the last bull market. It started to perform really well at the start of this cycle. I'm interested to see how it continues. I've got a little bit of a bitter taste when I think about Solana because I was put off it massively when FTX were holding a huge percentage of it, but it still managed to pump. So I can't say too much bad stuff about that. I'm not a holder, not a huge fan, but I don't know where the price could go. In a bull market, I would like to also point out tokens that do absolutely nothing, tokens that just do not make sense, pump out of thin air. Like, you can't just, it's so easy sometimes in a bull market to just invest in something and think you're a genius because it goes up. Some tokens that are just absolute trash, moon. So it's kind of silly to bash tokens at this point in the market because they probably will increase at some point, especially if they're in like the top 20. But in terms of what I'm doing, I'm looking at Ethereum, looking at some of its competitors, looking at those top 20 tokens. We do have to remember that from bull market to bull market, the top 10 tokens typically aren't the same. We will see some new entries into that sector, into the high cap coins, and we want to be able to take advantage of that when those tokens do come around. That was Solana in the previous cycle. So I'm looking at how different altcoins have performed in previous cycles compared to Bitcoin, those that I think will stick around for this cycle. So I am a huge fan of Chainlink. I think oracles are something that obviously will get a lot more demand in 2024. They bring off-chain data on chain. And if we want to break into traditional industries and adopt blockchain technology for more than we currently do, then we will need oracles massively. So oracles, I think they will have a huge opportunity in 2024. I think we need to look at the sectors that are getting the most excitement. We've been seeing Bitcoin BRC20 tokens get a lot of excitement right now. Mixed emotions on that, I will be honest, but it is a sector that's pumping. It's a sector that's doing well, so it depends what you're coming for. I find it hard to invest in tokens that I don't 100% want to exist. I don't want tokens that are blocking that creating congestion on the Bitcoin network. I want it to be left alone as a peer-to-peer payment system. But BRC20 tokens are being made, people are profiting from them. So I'm trying to put my kind of morals aside and say, do you know what? If there's gains to be made, we need to be getting involved. We need to dabble there. But BRC20 tokens, nevertheless, is a sector that's gaining a lot of traction right now. Projects are performing really well, and there's a lot of excitement there. The gaming industry, again, this was a big sector. Last bull market seems to be the same again. This is the industry where a lot of people kind of put the faith that this will be the industry that will break into the traditional sector. A lot of people are saying, look, how can we get crypto from people from Web 2 to Web 3? And gaming is kind of the sector that people look at for that, because traditional gamers may decide they want to do pay to earn. They want to earn some tokens that have monetary value, and that could really suck a load of people into Web3. So gaming could gain traction in the next bull market. Honestly, all of the sectors that are out there could have their time. We saw a meme coin pump like 6 months ago, and meme coins do absolutely nothing. We probably will see an NFT pump as well. I mean, all of the sectors will probably get their time in this bull market, but right now, real world assets are a big one. BRC20 tokens are a big one, and people are still talking about gaming. So I think these three sectors are something to look at closely. I think right now in the markets, high cap coins are what I'm focusing on because Bitcoin's really been performing well. I think it is time to start see that shift onto those high cap coins within the next 3 months or so. What else was in your question? I'm looking at what happened in the previous cycles when it comes to Ethereum versus Bitcoin, when it comes to high caps versus Bitcoin, and seeing how all of these altcoins performed. Obviously, it won't be one for one. It won't be a direct mirror of what happened last time, but we can use it to help make our predictions. Now, as I've said as well, we won't have the same top 10 tokens as we did in the last bull market probably. So you also need to look at the utility of these tokens, see if what their they have is still better compared to its competition, and see if you think it can hold its top 10 spots. And in that scenario, if it can, if it's a high cap coin, if it's going to be a top 10 in the next bull market, if it's not a stable coin, then you have good reason to believe that it could make some bigger gains than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a much bigger asset with a much bigger market cap and requires a lot more money to make those percentage changes. However, we also have these ETFs that have come in now, these spot Bitcoin ETFs, and there is concern about a supply crunch when it comes to Bitcoin. So we could see Bitcoin make some really nice percentage gains as well. I think being diversified, being aware of the kind of movements in the cycle from Bitcoin to high cap to mid cap to low cap over the kind of next 18 months, 21 months is really important. So definitely just keep looking at the charts, look at previous cycles, look at the trends, see what the hype is around, and see what opportunities are out there. We do actually have in our CSE Plus Discord channel a huge amount of traders that are constantly on the ball, constantly seeing what sector is new, constantly seeing what sector to be investing into. It's super exciting to see. As I've already said multiple times, I'm a pretty boring investor. I like to keep it pretty safe. There are people that are constantly on the ball in crypto and make an absolute fortune. That is not me. So unfortunately, I don't have those gains. But there are people in the CSE Plus Discord that are constantly talking about the next sector that's doing well, the next project that's doing well. Lots of airdrop talks at the moment as well, because they're creating a huge amount of excitement in the markets. So if you want to stay up to date with all of that kind of stuff, make sure to tune into Crypto Saving Expert Plus's Discord channel. A really nice community there with some really great traders in there as well that are sharing their advice and tips. So make sure to check that out. And then if you join the CSE Plus Discord and get all of those tips on all of those positions, all of those sectors, all of what's new in crypto, and you tune into these live streams every single day, by the end of 2024, you will be a certified crypto saving expert. So make sure to tune in every day. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. We do need to get onto the cryptocurrency news today, because we are 33 minutes in and we have not started the news. We've done one article today. So let's see what else is going on here. What are we going on here? So BlackRock wants to project Bitcoin ETF adds onto former banks, filing says. So earlier this week, we saw Google remove its ban of advertisement surrounding Bitcoin when it comes to ETFs. So this means BlackRock, Fidelity, and other Bitcoin ETF issuers can now advertise those products on Google. And this was a really positive move for cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, because this was banned many, many years ago. But now if you type in Bitcoin ETF, you'll see a nice BlackRock or Fidelity ad at the top of your screen. We take a look at what this article is saying. It says BlackRock proposed a campaign to project spot Bitcoin ETF advertisements onto the sides of buildings in a Jan 31st SEC filing. So the plan is brief, but it says the iBit signal is an animation designed to be projected onto the facades of former financial institutions in New York City, Miami, and Los Angeles. This storyboard uses our Miami facade as the template. The projection includes iBits throughout this much of its runtime, referring to the ticker for BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin ETF. So you can see what it would look like here. Each image otherwise shows a timeline of events leading up to the launch of BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF this January. Certain images describe the launch of the first stock market in the US in 1790, the first US ETF in 1993, the launch of Bitcoin in 2009, and the first Bitcoin futures contract in 2017. Other scenes read a new era of access and spot Bitcoin ETFs are here. So really interesting here that BlackRock and Fidelity are making such a big push for these ETFs. This is what we were expecting here on the channel, and something we discussed a lot here. We were saying, look, there's a huge amount of opportunity for investors getting into this space here. A huge wave of adoption could happen thanks to these ETFs. And the biggest point to point out is these issuers of these ETFs, BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, are going to be making marketing strategies to push their products to get as much money in these funds as possible. And this is exactly what we are seeing. We've seen them make video advertisements for Bitcoin ETFs. We're now seeing them proposing actually projecting onto major buildings in the major cities in the US, and we are seeing them advertise on Google now that ban has been lifted. So massive changes here for Bitcoin and these products, and I think it's a really good thing to see at this time in the markets, with a huge amount of potential for 2024. But let's take a look at what else is going on in the crypto news today. So Bitcoin whales are filling their bags, ETF issuers or stockholders. So Bitcoin whales have been filling their boots over the past 2 weeks as net outflows top 100,000 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin landscape has undergone an interesting transformation in the last 2 weeks, notably from whale entities' consistent withdrawal of Bitcoin from exchanges. So a Bitcoin whale is deemed to be an account that holds more than 1,000 Bitcoins. And what we can see here is the outflow from exchanges to whale addresses. And there's been a huge amount here. So data obtained by Glassnode has shown that around 100,000 Bitcoin have been withdrawn in the previous 2 weeks, with each day making a net outflow to whale addresses. Now, the question is, are these ETF whales or wild whales? So, the surge in whale activity commenced around the 16th of January, closely following Bitcoin's significant daily drawdown of 7.5%, the most substantial single-day decline since the FTX collapse in November 2022. Since then, the momentum of this trend has remained steadfast, showing no signs of slowing down. So, also in this period, the number of whale entities increased from 1,513 to 1,563. This uptick is particularly interesting as it is almost offsets the decrease in whale entities observed in 2022. Now, given it occurred in parallel with the approval of 11 Bitcoin ETFs, it is possible that these ETF accounts could be responsible for some of the surge. ETFs such as Grayscale split their Bitcoin stash among a plethora of addresses. Others, on the other hand, operate with a different philosophy. The Bitwise ETF operates out of a single declared wallet, which has received donations from members of the public, and that actually made it one of the first over-collateralized spot Bitcoin ETF. Another interesting fact is that the largest outflow to Bitcoin addresses appears to have occurred on the 17th of January, the day which also coincided with the largest net inflow to the ETF, with just under half of the ETF trading days have seen net outflows from the accounts. So their impact may be overstated in the CoinGlass data. So really interesting news here. Bitcoin whales are increasing. Are they the ETF issuers or are they just whales trying to get in at this point in the market? Either way, it's a good thing. We're seeing buying pressure here. We're seeing Bitcoin moving off exchanges. We're seeing the amount of liquidity, the supply on exchanges decrease. And this means that we are one day closer to that supply crunch where we see Bitcoin absolutely moon. Let's see what else is going on here in the news, because yesterday we did see the Federal Reserve leave interest rates unchanged. They did not hike them, they did not reduce them. We are seeing interest rates sit at the exact same point between 5 points. Let's get this right. So where are we on the thing? So we were looking at an expectation. 97.9% of people were saying, look, we are going to see a no change decision, and that is exactly what we saw. So a 25 basis points and 50% basis point rate cuts are the favourites for May, but right now we are seeing no change right now. It may have created some short-term volatility onto Bitcoin. To be honest, I wasn't watching the Bitcoin price when this news came out, but as always, what we typically see with these kind of news articles is that Bitcoin does a little bit of volatility on the 1 minute chart and then goes back to where it was previously, so it just creates a little bit of volatility. But in terms of keeping the interest rates where they are, it's great not to see a hike. This was expected. If we were to see a hike, then that obviously creates some concerns. The interest rate is essentially a tool to kind of try and reduce inflation. So if you increase interest rates, people are paying more interest, therefore they have less liquid cash, so they are spending less money, which reduces the size of the economy, pulling down inflation. If they reduce interest rates, it means people have that little bit more excess cash. They can spend more money, increase the economy and increase inflation. So it's just a tool that the Fed used to try and manage inflation. Obviously, with what happened in 2020, inflation went incredibly high, 9.1% in July 2022 year on year for the US. So a huge inflation rate at that point in time. They've tried to get it down. They've got it down considerably. They've got a target of 2%. Don't know if they'll reach that 2%. I saw a video the other day and everyone was like, where's this 2% come from? Why is it 2%? Why should we be happy with 2%? And there wasn't really an answer given, to be fair. This is just kind of a worldwide agreement that 2% is the perfect inflation rate. But that's what we're seeing right now. So they're trying to get inflation down to 2%. They will use interest rates to do that. This is the tool they have in place to monitor inflation as much as possible. Obviously, we all want to see inflation come down, but living with these high interest rates is really hard on the average day-to-day person. Let's see what else is going on here in the chat though before we continue. So Into the Cosmos, hello, thank you very much for tuning in. Spud is in the chat here with great stream. Thank you very much. Now, I haven't mentioned this yet. Some of you may be wondering, why are we doing a live stream at 10 a.m. instead of 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. Is midday 12 p.m. or 12 a.m.? I don't know. I always get that confused. Anyway, we are doing the stream early today because Spud is coming on the stream at 12:30. Please put that information in the chat because I'm now uncertain on that fact. At 12:30, Spud will be coming on here for a stream, and he will be here with one of the founders from Zebu, which is the UK's biggest cryptocurrency event that is held every single year in London, and it has actually been acquired by Stephen Bartlett and Flight 3. I wrote down all this information before. I don't have it in front of me, Spud, sorry. So the founder of this company, good friends with Stephen Bartlett. Obviously, Stephen Bartlett's taken over this company now, runs the biggest cryptocurrency events yearly in London in the UK. He is coming on the channel at 12:30. I've made a right meal out of that advertisement, but make sure to tune back in at 12:30 and check that out because a very interesting guy with lots of information to share there. So make sure to tune in and listen to what they have to say. 12:30 today, so in an hour and a half's time. Let's see what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here. So the UK authorities have seized $1.4 billion in Bitcoin linked to a Chinese investment fraud scheme. We are going to just jump over these quickly and we'll stick on to the stories that are big here. So Ripple co-founder hacked for $112.5 million worth of XRP. One of the company's co-founders suffered a security breach there, and that money has been laundered to multiple different exchanges by now. Keeping a close eye on that, ZachXBT, a blockchain sleuth, has been tweeting about this and really uncovered this when it initially happened, so he's staying up to date with that on Twitter. We have seen stories of this. So it was actually co-founder Chris Larson's XRP wallet that was hacked for an estimated $112 million. What else are we seeing in the markets, though? I think this has created some concerns for people. Executives emphasize that Ripple's own accounts are unaffected. It is just the co-founder's account there that has been affected. I mean, $112 million. That is a painful loss, a very painful loss. Let's see what else is going on here. So Coinbase has donated $25 million to crypto super PAC Fairshake, and Ripple have given $20 million. And finally, Hong Kong authorities investigating WorldCoin over data privacy concerns. No new news here. We've seen concern about that other places in the world. So Hong Kong can just join that list. But right now, let's see where Bitcoin's trading before we close off today's stream. We are looking at Bitcoin at 42,000. This isn't the chart that we like. Bitcoin USDT. There we go. Bitcoin is currently trading at $42,270. Up so far for the day, but we do for the week. Sorry, but we do have red candles for the last couple of days. It hasn't been the most bullish kind of 3 days here. We'll see how this plays out. Hopefully this level of support holds. As I've said, it's a pretty strong level of support, and maybe we will be trapped within this price range for a period of time, but we'll keep you up to date with that on these live streams every single weekday. So make sure to tune back in with me tomorrow at 11 a.m. and make sure to tune in here with Spud at 12:30 to hear him interview a huge player in the space who helps run huge events for cryptocurrency every single year. The biggest UK event, Zebu Live. He's going to be here on the stream to be talking about everything crypto and what he thinks about the market. So make sure to stay tuned till then. Turn on your bell notification button so you don't miss it. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.